Morning comes too quickly. The manor feels different at dawn, less haunted, more exposed. Hermione stands at one of the tall windows overlooking the grounds, sunlight cutting sharp lines across the marble floor. She has not slept. Neither has Draco. The boy lingers at the far end of the hall, watching the wards flicker faintly against the light. An owl arrives before breakfast. Draco intercepts it in the entrance hall, breaking the seal with practiced calm. His expression doesn't change, but the air around him tightens. Hermione steps closer. "Well, Raoul has requested formal acknowledgement of review," Draco says evenly. "They've accelerated." Hermione's pulse jumps. "That's not how succession review usually proceeds." "No," Draco replies. "It isn't." The parchment crackles softly in his hand. "They're forcing the ministry to respond publicly." The boy steps closer. "In my time," he says quietly. "This is when you hesitate." Draco's gaze flicks to him. "Why?" "Because public response makes it political, and you avoid optics." Hermione exhales sharply. "That sounds like you," she says, almost accusing. Draco doesn't deny it. "It's not entirely incorrect." Hermione steps in front of him. "If they push this into the open, then hiding won't protect you." "No," he agrees. "And if you ignore it, they interpret it as weakness." "Yes." The boy watches the pieces click together. Hermione straightens. "Then we don't ignore it." Draco's brows lift slightly. "You suggest?" "We confront it publicly," she says firmly. "You respond formally, not defensively, strategically." Draco studies her. "And you?" Hermione hesitates for half a heartbeat. Then, "I stand beside you." The words settle into the hall like a declaration. The boy feels his breath catch. Draco's expression shifts, not triumph, not shock. Something quieter, something heavier. "That will have consequences," he says carefully. "I'm aware," she replies. "For your career, I'm aware. For Weasley." The air shifts again. Hermione's jaw tightens slightly. "Ron and I are already drifting," she says quietly. "This didn't start here." Draco doesn't respond. He doesn't need to. Hermione takes the parchment from his hand and reads quickly. "They're invoking ancestral vulnerability language," she murmurs. "They're framing it as estate preservation." "They're framing it as tradition," Draco corrects. She looks up sharply. "And you're going to let them?" "No." The boy watches the tension between them morph into something sharper, more unified. Draco moves toward the fireplace. "I'll draft a formal objection." Hermione follows him instinctively. "You won't draft it alone." Draco pauses. He studies her for a moment, then nods. They move into the study side by side, quills scratching against parchment in tandem. Hermione edits his phrasing without hesitation. Draco revises her structure without ego. It is seamless. The boy stands in the doorway watching them work. This is new. In his time, they don't collaborate like this until after everything breaks. This is earlier, stronger. The wards hum softly around them. An hour later, the objection is sealed with the Malfoy crest and Hermione's signature as witness. Draco hands it to the waiting owl. The moment it leaves the manor, the estate wards flare. Not violently. Confirming. Something ancient recognizes a shift. Hermione feels it in her bones. Draco feels it too. The boy grips the edge of the desk as a faint ripple passes through him. For a split second, his vision blurs. He closes his eyes. When he opens them, everything is solid again. Draco turns toward Hermione slowly. "That will make this public," he says. "I know. And once it's public, there's no quiet retreat." Hermione meets his gaze. "I don't intend to retreat." Silence stretches between them. Not awkward. Charged. Draco takes a step closer. Not invading. Not pressing. Just closer. "You're certain?" he asks quietly. She doesn't look away. "Yes, it's not a declaration of love. It's something deeper. Commitment to action. The boy watches them from across the room. He feels the timeline shift again. The world in his memory feels less certain, less fixed. And for the first time, he feels afraid. Not of failure, but of success. The ministry does not wait. By noon, Draco's formal objection has circulated through the Wizengamot chambers. Whispers follow, then speculation, then outright headlines in the Prophet. Malfoy contests Rowell's succession review. Granger named witness to estate objection. Hermione reads the last one twice. "Of course they include my name," she mutters. Draco stands across the study, hands clasped behind his back. "You expected discretion." "I expected at least an attempt at subtlety. They want pressure," Draco says calmly. "They want you to step back." She folds the paper deliberately. "Then I won't." The words feel heavier this time. Not theoretical. Public. Footsteps echo in the hall. Hermione knows who it is before he enters. Ron doesn't look furious today. He looks tired. That unsettles her more. "You signed it," he says quietly. "Yes." "You put your name next to his." "Yes." Draco starts to speak, but Hermione lifts a hand slightly. This is hers to answer. Ron steps further into the room, gaze never leaving her. "You didn't even talk to me first." "I tried," she says evenly. "No," he replies. "You told me." The distinction lands sharply. Hermione exhales slowly. "Ron, this isn't about politics alone." "I know what it's about," he snaps softly. "It's about him." Draco remains still. Ron looks at her with something raw in his expression. "Do you love him?" The question doesn't explode. It lands quietly. Hermione's heart stutters. "No," she says. "It's honest. For now." Ron nods once, but there's no relief in it. "Do you want to?" Silence stretches. She doesn't answer immediately. Draco feels the air shift. Ron sees it. That hesitation, that pause, it's everything. "You're already halfway there," Ron says. Hermione shakes her head. "This isn't about feelings." "It always becomes about feelings," Ron replies. "You think you can analyse your way around that?" She flinches slightly. Because he knows her. He always has. "I don't want you hurt," he continues, softer now. "And I don't trust him." Draco finally speaks, voice measured. "You don't need to." Ron's gaze snaps to him. "You don't get to be calm about this." "I'm not calm," Draco says quietly. And for the first time, Ron hears it. Not arrogance, not sarcasm. Fear. Ron looks back at Hermione. "If you walk down this path," he says slowly, "it changes everything." Hermione nods. "I know. And you're willing to?" She swallows. "I'm willing to survive." The words hang between them. Ron exhales sharply, something inside him cracking. "You're choosing a possibility over what we built." Hermione's voice softens. "We built something real. I won't pretend we didn't." "But it's not enough," he finishes. She doesn't deny it. Silence. Ron nods once. "Then I won't stand in your way," he says quietly. "But I won't pretend I'm not hurt." Hermione steps toward him instinctively. "Ron," he steps back gently. "Don't." He looks at Draco one last time. Not with hatred, not even with anger. With resignation. Then he leaves. The door closes softly behind him. The manor feels heavier. Hermione stands very still. Draco approaches slowly. "You didn't have to." "Yes, I did," she interrupts. Her voice trembles slightly now. "This isn't about being swept away by fate," she says. "It's about acknowledging what's already shifting." Draco studies her carefully. "And what is shifting?" he asks quietly. She meets his gaze. "Us." The word is fragile. Uncertain. But real. He doesn't reach for her. He doesn't push. He simply nods. The boy watches from the doorway, something tightening in his chest. Later that evening, while Hermione and Draco review formal responses for the Wizengamot hearing, the boy slips quietly into the lower archives alone. He moves toward the pedestal, presses his palm against the stone. The lineage script flickers. He searches for his name. It is still there, but fainter. He frowns. He pulls an older volume from the shelf, a text on temporal displacement theory, one he remembers from his time. He flips quickly to a marked page. Temporal recalibration occurs when causal origin conditions are altered. Entities dependent on altered origin may destabilize. His breath catches. He reads it again and again. Slowly, understanding creeps in. If the curse never activates, if his mother never dies, the grief that bound them, the urgency that led to his conception, changes. He presses his palm harder against the stone. The runes flicker again. His name dims for half a heartbeat, then steadies. He inhales slowly. They're getting closer, and he finally understands what that means. But he doesn't tell them. He closes the book quietly. Upstairs, Hermione laughs softly at something Draco mutters under his breath. It's the first genuine sound of ease he's heard from her since he arrived. The boy rests his forehead briefly against the cold stone wall. It's working, and it will cost him. The Wizengamot chamber is colder than Hermione remembers. Not in temperature, in atmosphere. Rows of elevated benches curve along the circular walls, heavy with ancient authority and inherited bias. Gold-threaded robes shimmer beneath floating chandeliers. Whispers ripple outward as Draco and Hermione enter side by side. Not touching, not speaking, but unmistakably aligned. The boy remains in the public gallery, seated behind a thin veil of concealment charm Draco insisted on. His fingers tighten against the bench as he watches the chamber react. House Rowell sits 3 rows up from the centre dais. Lord Cassian Rowell looks exactly as the boy remembers. Smooth-faced, silver-haired, calculating. His gaze locks onto Draco, then slides to Hermione. Calculating. The chief warlock strikes the staff once. This hearing addresses the succession review filed by House Rowell against House Malfoy. Murmurs subside. Rowell rises first. Honourable members, he begins smoothly, this petition is not an attack. It is preservation. The Malfoy line has remained unsettled. His eyes flick briefly to Hermione. Tradition grants review to ensure ancestral integrity remains protected. Hermione's jaw tightens. Draco does not react. Rowell continues. Should the Malfoy heir intend union with non-traditional lineage, the review ensures stability. There it is. Not said outright, but clear. Hermione feels heat rise in her chest. Draco stands slowly. The Malfoy estate remains structurally intact, he says evenly. This petition is premature and politically motivated. Rowell smiles faintly. On the contrary, it is timely. Draco's voice cools further. The timing is precisely the issue. Hermione steps forward slightly. She does not have speaking rights in this chamber, but she is not silent. Rowell's gaze sharpens. Miss Granger. Representative Granger, she corrects evenly. A faint ripple moves through the benches. Rowell inclines his head mockingly. Representative Granger, her voice is steady. This petition hinges on the assumption of instability, yet no instability exists unless manufactured. Rowell's smile fades. You imply misconduct. I imply opportunism, she replies. The boy watches the exchange with sharp intensity. This is earlier, stronger. In his timeline, she does not stand beside Draco here. She stays distant, neutral. Rowell shifts his stance. Your involvement, Representative, complicates matters. Hermione meets his gaze without blinking. Complication often reveals truth. A few members of the Wizengamot shift uncomfortably. Draco continues smoothly. The estate will contest provisional access. Rowell's eyes narrow. And if the review proceeds, Draco's answer is precise. It will not. The confidence ripples outward. Hermione feels it beside her, controlled, calculated, unwavering. And she realizes something quietly devastating. He is not acting for pride. He is acting to protect. Raoul glances toward the gallery briefly, toward the boy. His gaze lingers. The boy's stomach drops. He feels something strange, a faint flicker across his skin. He presses his hands into his sleeves. The chief warlock clears his throat. The Ministry will deliberate on the legitimacy of provisional access. The staff strikes again. Hearing adjourned. The chamber erupts into murmurs. Hermione and Draco turn at the same moment. For a brief second their eyes meet. Not adversaries, not allies of convenience. Partners in a fight. Outside the chamber, reporters swarm instantly. Malfoy, is this union speculation? Representative Granger, are you aligning politically with House Malfoy? Draco steps slightly in front of her, not blocking, just deflecting. No formal union has occurred, he says evenly. This is a legal matter, Hermione adds calmly, and it will remain one. They move through the crowd together, not touching, but in step. The boy lingers behind, heart pounding. His vision blurs for a second. He reaches for the wall. His fingers pass slightly through the stone before solidifying again. He freezes. No one notices. He pulls his hand back quickly. Breath shallow. It's starting. He closes his eyes briefly. Up ahead, Hermione laughs softly at something Draco mutters under his breath about the prophet's dramatic phrasing. The sound echoes differently now. Alive. Unafraid. The boy steadies himself. He will not tell them. Not yet. Because today, they stood together. And the world felt different. The manor feels different when they return. Not lighter. Charged. The wards hum low, as though aware something has shifted in the world beyond the gates. Hermione stands in the entrance hall longer than necessary, staring at nothing. The hearing replays in her mind, the glances, the murmurs, the moment she stepped beside Draco without hesitation. Draco closes the door behind them and turns toward her. You didn't have to speak, he says quietly. Yes, I did. No, he replies. You could have remained neutral, she turns to him sharply. Neutrality is what created the window in the first place. The words hang between them. He studies her carefully. You realize what today looked like. Yes. Speculation will spread. Yes. And if the Ministry sides with Raoul, she steps closer without thinking. Then we respond. He watches the fire in her expression, and something inside him shifts. You're not afraid, he says. I am, she answers honestly. But I refuse to be paralyzed by it. The boy watches from the staircase, silent. In his timeline, this moment doesn't exist. They argue separately. They avoid eye contact after the hearing. They retreat into pride. Now, they stand close, aligned. Hermione exhales slowly. When he looked at me, Raoul, I realize something. Draco's gaze sharpens. What? He expected me to hesitate. Draco's voice drops. And you didn't. No. Their eyes lock. The silence that follows isn't uncomfortable. It's loaded. Draco takes a step closer. Not enough to invade. Just enough to narrow the space between them. You changed the dynamic today, he says quietly. So did you. How? You didn't speak for me. That catches him off guard. I didn't need to, he replies. Her lips twitch faintly. The boy feels another ripple in his vision. He blinks hard. The room wavers for a split second. He grips the railing. His hand flickers, transparent for half a breath, before solidifying again. He inhales sharply. He looks down at his palm. Still there. He glances toward the lineage portrait at the end of the hall. His name glows faintly along the carved tree, fainter than before. He swallows. Hermione turns toward him suddenly. "Are you all right?" "Yes." He answers quickly. Too quickly. Draco studies him more closely now. "You look pale." "I'm fine." Hermione steps toward him anyway, brushing her fingers lightly against his arm. For a split second, her fingers tingle. Not static. Not magic misfire. Something unstable. She frowns faintly but doesn't comment. Draco notices her expression. "What?" "Nothing," she says lightly. "Just tired." The boy forces a small smile. Later that evening, they sit in the study again, not working this time. Silence settles comfortably between them. Hermione glances at Draco. "Can I ask you something?" "You always do." She rolls her eyes faintly. "In my future, when we marry, are we happy?" The boy looks up sharply. Draco's breath catches. He doesn't look at the boy. He looks at her. "Yes," he says quietly. She searches his face for exaggeration. "For how long?" she asks. His throat tightens. Not long enough. She absorbs that. The boy feels his chest ache. Hermione looks down at her hands. "If this is inevitable," she murmurs, almost to herself. "Why did we wait?" Draco's answer is simple. "Because we were afraid of what it would cost." She meets his eyes slowly. "And now?" He doesn't look away. "Now I'm more afraid of losing you." The honesty hangs heavy. Not dramatic. Not romantic in a sweeping way. Real. The boy turns his face slightly so they don't see the tears in his eyes. It's earlier than before. Cleaner. Less reactive. The timeline is bending. He feels it in his bones. Hermione leans back in her chair slowly. "We're not rushing," she says softly. "No," Draco agrees. "But we're not pretending anymore either." He nods once. The manor hums faintly. Outside, the night deepens. And somewhere within the old stone walls, the lineage tree shifts again, so subtly that no one but the boy would notice. His name dims another shade. The ministry's decision arrives at dusk. The owl does not wait to be invited in. It crashes against the ward barrier, feathers scattering sparks as the manor admits it reluctantly. Draco intercepts the parchment before it hits the floor. Hermione stands beside him. The boy already knows. He can feel it in the way the wards vibrate, not hostile, not alarmed. Anticipatory. Draco breaks the seal. His expression hardens almost imperceptibly. "Well?" Hermione asks. "They've granted provisional review." Her breath stills. "Limited ancestral access approved pending full hearing." The words settle like frost. Hermione takes the parchment and scans quickly. "They're moving faster than the records indicated," she says quietly. "They're nervous," Draco replies. "Public alignment disrupted their expected timeline." The irony isn't lost on any of them. The boy watches the two of them standing close again, shoulders nearly brushing. He remembers this phase in his time. This is when Draco withdraws. This is when Hermione steps back publicly to protect her reform bills. This is when distance grows. But now, they don't step apart. Hermione exhales slowly. "How long until full activation?" 48 hours, Draco replies. "They've accelerated the review process." The boy feels a sharp pulse in his head. 48 hours. It's sooner than he remembers. Hermione begins pacing. If they gain ritual access before sealing, the curse attaches the moment. "Yes," Draco says quietly. Silence stretches. Hermione stops pacing. "Then we seal." Draco looks at her carefully. "That requires intent." Her gaze doesn't waver. "I'm aware." The boy feels his stomach twist. This is the moment he feared. Draco steps closer, voice low. "You don't make this decision because of a clock." "I'm not," she replies sharply. "Then why?" She steps toward him until they are only a breath apart. "Because I am done pretending this is only political." The words hang between them. Draco searches her face. "And what is it?" She swallows once. "It's alignment." she says. Intellectual, moral, strategic, emotional. The last word lands softly. He doesn't touch her. He doesn't reach. He simply asks, "Are you certain?" Yes. The boy's vision flickers. The hallway blurs around the edges. He grips the banister. His fingers pass through it this time. Clear. Transparent. For longer than before. He pulls back sharply. Hermione turns. "Scorpius? I'm fine," he says quickly. Too quickly. Draco's gaze sharpens. "You're not." The boy forces a breath. It's just the wards adjusting. Hermione moves toward him. When her hand brushes his shoulder, her fingers tingle again. Stronger. She frowns. "Your magic feels unstable." The boy smiles faintly. Time travel isn't clean. Draco studies him carefully. "You didn't tell us everything about the displacement spell." The boy looks away. "There wasn't time." Not a lie. Not entirely. Hermione's focus shifts back to Draco. "If we seal before full activation, the provisional access becomes void." "Yes." "And Rull loses ritual leverage permanently." "Yes." She nods once. "Then we do it." The finality in her tone echoes through the hall. Draco holds her gaze. "Tomorrow night," he says. Before the 48 hours expire, they stand there facing each other, the manor humming softly around them. The boy watches them with something like awe and dread. Later, alone in the lower archive, he presses his hand against the lineage pedestal again. His name flickers violently, then steadies faintly. He pulls the temporal text from the shelf again, reading the same line over and over. Entities dependent on altered origin may destabilize. He understands now. If the curse never activates, if his mother never dies, the grief that drove his father to desperate love changes. The exact moment that created him vanishes. He closes the book slowly. Upstairs, Hermione laughs softly at something Draco says. The sound echoes down the stairwell. Alive. He leans his forehead against the cold stone. He will not tell them. Because tomorrow, she lives. And that is worth it. The manor does not sleep. Torches burn brighter along the ancestral corridors, as though the house itself understands what is about to occur. The air hums with old magic, watchful, restless. Hermione stands in the ritual chamber beneath the manor, staring at the circular sigil carved into the stone floor. Silver inlay traces ancient Malfoy runes along the perimeter. At the centre, two smaller circles wait. Draco enters quietly behind her. He has changed into formal black, not ceremonial robes, but something simpler. Intentional. Hermione turns. For a moment neither speaks. This is not a wedding. This is not spectacle. This is decision. "Once we begin," Draco says evenly. "There's no partial seal. The wards recognize full union." Hermione nods slowly. "I've reviewed the ritual structure. And it's elegant," she admits. A faint smile touches his mouth. "My ancestors would be insufferably pleased." She steps closer to the circle's edge. "This doesn't feel forced," she says quietly. "No," he agrees. "It feels," she searches for the word. "Inevitable," he offers. She considers that. "No," she says finally. "Chosen. The difference matters." Draco studies her carefully. "You understand this changes more than estate law, yes? Your career. I'll manage. Your friendships." She hesitates only a fraction of a second. "I'm already managing that." Silence stretches between them. Not uncomfortable. Charged. He steps closer. "If at any point you—" "I won't." She interrupts gently. Their eyes lock. No firework magic. No dramatic declaration. Just gravity. Upstairs, the boy stands in the corridor outside the chamber. He can feel the ritual space activating, the wards gathering like a held breath. His hands flicker again. This time longer. He watches his fingers fade at the edges. like mist caught in sunlight. He presses them together until they solidify. He doesn't move. Inside, Hermione steps into her circle. Draco mirrors her. The sigil ignites softly beneath their feet. State intent. The ritual stone whispers faintly. Hermione inhales. I enter this binding of my own will, not from coercion, not from fear. Her voice echoes through the chamber. Draco follows. I bind in recognition of partnership, not for power, not for preservation of pride. The runes brighten. Hermione feels the wards reach toward her, testing, measuring. She does not recoil. Draco feels the mana shift beneath his feet. Ancient. Evaluating. Declare alignment. The chamber hums. Hermione looks at Draco. Not at his title. Not at his past. At him. I align with you because I respect you, she says quietly. Because I trust your mind. Because when pressure rises, you steady instead of break. The honesty lands heavy. Draco's breath tightens. I align with you because you challenge me, he replies. Because you see beyond lineage. Because when fear appears, you move forward anyway. The sigil flares. The two circles begin to glow brighter, threads of silver weaving slowly between them. Upstairs, the boy feels a sharp pull in his chest. He grips the wall. His forearm fades completely for a full second. He gasps. The connection below strengthens. Inside the chamber, the threads snap into place, weaving across the floor in intricate patterns. The mana shudders once, then settles. The wards seal. Hermione feels it immediately, a shift in the air, in the stone, in the invisible architecture around her. Draco feels it too. It is done. The ritual light dims gradually. They stand there for a moment longer, facing each other in the quiet aftermath. Not overwhelmed. Not consumed. Steady. Draco steps forward first. Not into her space. Just close enough that the warmth between them is undeniable. This wasn't survival, he says quietly. No, she agrees. It was choice. Yes, he lifts a hand slowly. She does not pull away. His fingers brush hers. The contact is soft, unhurried, real. Upstairs, the boy slides down against the wall, breath shaking. His legs flicker faintly at the edges. He looks down. The fabric of his trousers fades slightly before stabilizing. He laughs once under his breath. It's working. The curse window is closing. The wards have sealed. Hermione lives. And the future he knew is dissolving. He pushes himself back to his feet before they can come upstairs. When they emerge from the ritual chamber, he is standing straight, solid, smiling faintly. It's done? He asks. Draco nods once. Yes. Hermione steps toward him instinctively. She cups his face gently. You're safe now, she says softly. The words almost undo him. He smiles wider. So are you. Neither of them understands the weight of that exchange yet. But he does. The ministry's response arrives before noon. This time, the owl does not strike the wards. It glides through effortlessly, as though the manner itself permits it without question. Draco breaks the seal, while Hermione stands close enough that their shoulders nearly touch. Provisional access revoked, he reads calmly. Succession review invalidated due to confirmed binding and ward integration. Hermione exhales. It isn't dramatic. It isn't triumphant. It is quiet relief. House Rowell's leverage has collapsed. The curse window is closed. Draco lowers the parchment slowly. It's finished, Hermione nods. For them, she says. He studies her carefully. And for us, she meets his gaze. Just beginning, the weight of that truth settles between them. They are not standing in ritual circles anymore. There is no sigil glowing beneath their feet. No audience. No pressure. Just the two of them in the entrance hall of a house that now recognizes her as part of its foundation. Hermione glances toward the lineage portrait. The tree has shifted. Her name now weaves into the branches beside Draco's. She stares at it longer than she intends to. Draco notices. "You can change the inscription style," he says quietly. "If you dislike the script," she almost laughs. "You think that's what I'm focused on?" "No," he admits. Silence stretches. Not tense. Aware. Upstairs, the boy sits on the edge of the bed in the guest chamber. His hands are steady for now, but his reflection in the mirror flickers faintly at the edges. He watches it carefully. In his time, this room feels colder, lonelier. Now it hums softly with ward stability, with safety. He stands slowly and walks to the window. Outside, the grounds stretch wide and untouched. His vision wavers again. The trees blur for half a second before snapping back into focus. He presses his palm against the glass. Solid. Still here. For now. Downstairs, Hermione and Draco move into the study. Not to research. Not to strategize. Just to exist in the aftermath. Draco pours tea without asking. She takes the cup without hesitation. It is a small thing, but new. "You're very calm," she says softly. "I've had practice," he replies. "At what?" "Losing control." She studies him carefully. "You don't seem like someone who loses it easily." "That's because I learned not to." The honesty lands quietly. She steps closer without thinking. "You don't have to with me," she says. His breath stills slightly. No. The air shifts. Not heated, not explosive, just closer. He studies her face carefully, as though memorizing something. "You're not afraid anymore," he says. "I am," she answers honestly. "But not of this." His fingers brush hers again. Intentional this time. Upstairs, the boy stumbles suddenly. His shoulder phases partially through the doorframe before solidifying. He gasps sharply. It's accelerating. He grips the bedpost, breathing uneven. He looks down at his hands. They flicker again. Longer. He swallows hard. He knew this would happen. He just didn't know how quickly. Downstairs, Hermione leans against the desk. Draco stands close enough now that the space between them feels deliberate. "You realize," she says quietly, "this isn't just strategic anymore." "I know. And if we continue because we want to." The words hang heavy. She studies him. "You don't regret it?" "No. Even if this wasn't necessary." He doesn't hesitate. "No." That answer hits deeper than she expects. Upstairs, the boy steadies himself and walks toward the mirror again. His reflection lags half a second behind his movement. He stares at it. He finally understands. The world he left no longer exists in the way that created him. His parents did not wait. His mother will not die. The grief that forged his exact beginning is gone. And he smiles, because that was the point. He straightens and heads for the staircase. He needs to see them, not as strategists, not as protectors, as themselves. When he enters the study, they step apart instinctively. He notices. He smiles faintly. "It's over?" he asks. "Yes," Hermione says softly. "The review is dead." The boy nods slowly. "Good." Draco studies him more closely now. "You don't look well." "I'm fine." He says it more gently this time. Hermione steps toward him. Her hand passes briefly through the edge of his sleeve before catching fabric. She freezes. Draco sees it. The boy holds their gaze, and for the first time, they understand something is wrong. But he just smiles. "You did it," he says softly, and something in his voice sounds like goodbye. Hermione does not panic. She notices. That is worse. Her fingers had passed through the edge of his sleeve. Not fully, just enough to feel wrong, like brushing smoke where fabric should be. Draco saw it too. The boy stands between them now, shoulders straight, expression carefully neutral. "You're fading," Draco says quietly. It is not a question. The boy doesn't answer immediately. Hermione steps closer, slower this time, as though approaching something fragile. She reaches out again, deliberate, and rests her hand over his. For a second, he is solid. Then the edges of his fingers blur. Her breath catches. "This started before the ritual," she says, thinking aloud. It accelerated after the seal. Draco's jaw tightens. "Why?" The boy exhales slowly. "Because it worked. The simplicity of it makes Hermione's stomach drop." "What does that mean?" she demands, though she already understands. He looks at her, not as a strategist, not as a future memory, as a son. "In my time, you marry after the filing, after the curse attaches, after everything breaks." His voice stays steady, even as his outline flickers faintly at the edges. "You don't seal early." Hermione's hand tightens instinctively. So the grief is different. Draco's expression sharpens. "Explain." The boy swallows. "In my timeline, you almost lose everything before you choose each other. It's desperate. Urgent. The timing, the exact timing, is what leads to me." Hermione's heart stutters. "And now?" she whispers. "Now you chose earlier." Silence falls heavy. Draco speaks slowly. "You're saying your existence depends on the version of us that waited?" "Yes." Hermione feels something crack open inside her chest. "But we're still us," she says sharply. "We still—" "Yes." He interrupts gently. "You're still you, just not the same you." The manor hums softly around them. Hermione's mind races. "Temporal recalibration," she murmurs. "Origin conditions altered." Draco's voice drops. "You knew." The boy nods once. "When?" "In the archives." "And you said nothing?" Draco asks. "I couldn't." Hermione steps closer, tears burning behind her eyes. "You could have told us." "And what would you have done?" he asks quietly. "Waited? Let her die?" The words land like a blade. Hermione freezes. Draco goes still. The boy's outline flickers again, longer this time. The edges of his shoulders turning faint, then stabilizing. "You were never supposed to survive that way," he says softly to her. "Not like that." Hermione shakes her head, as if rejecting the logic. "You're my son." He smiles faintly. "I know." Draco steps forward now, voice low but steady. "There must be a way to anchor you." "There isn't," the boy replies. "We haven't searched enough." "You don't have time." Hermione grips his shoulders. This time her hands hold. Solid. For now. "Then we'll find time." He looks at her with something unbearably gentle. "You already did." The words hollow her. Draco's voice tightens. "You chose this?" "Yes." The honesty is quiet. Unapologetic. "I came back to fix the timing," he continues. "To stop the curse. To keep you alive." He looks at Hermione. "If I stayed silent, you would have died. And if you spoke," Draco finishes slowly, "you risked yourself." He nods. Hermione's tears finally spill. "You're 13. I'm old enough." The manor's wards flicker faintly, as if responding. Draco moves closer, placing a hand over the boy's shoulder. This time it passes partially through before settling. The instability is worsening. "We will not lose you without a fight," Draco says firmly. The boy smiles faintly. "You're not losing me. You're changing." Hermione shakes her head. "That's not the same." "It is," he says softly. "Just not the way you want." He steps back gently from her grasp. For a moment his legs blur at the edges, transparent against the stone floor. He steadies himself. I don't regret it, he adds quietly. Draco's throat tightens. You should. No, the boy says. You were worth it. Hermione closes her eyes briefly, overwhelmed. The silence stretches. Not frantic. Heavy. The future has shifted. The curse is gone. The world will not fracture. But the cost stands in front of them. Fading. Hermione does not sleep. She fills the study table with temporal theory texts, cross-referenced ritual anchors, preservation charms, anything that might tether a displaced entity to a stabilized timeline. Draco stands near the window, watching her move. She is frantic without appearing frantic. Precise. Controlled. Desperate. There has to be a paradox containment clause, she mutters, flipping another page. Something about dual origin preservation. There isn't, the boy says gently from the doorway. She doesn't look at him. There has to be. Draco turns slowly. The boy's outline flickers more visibly now. Not constant, but frequent. His shadow lags half a second behind him when he moves. You're worsening, Draco says quietly. The boy shrugs lightly. It's almost stable. Hermione's head snaps up. Stable? In the way that endings are. Her breath catches. She crosses the room quickly and cups his face in both hands. This time, her fingers pass fully through his jaw before catching. She gasps. No. Draco steps closer, jaw tight but voice steady. Explain it to her. The boy nods slowly. The curse window is closed, he says. The ward's sealed before activation. That means the version of events that created me no longer has a path. Hermione shakes her head. But we will, he interrupts gently. Draco's eyes narrow slightly. We will? The boy looks between them. You're not done, he says softly. This isn't the end of your story. Hermione's hands tremble. You're my son, she whispers. Yes, and you expect me to accept this? I expect you to survive, he replies. The simplicity devastates her. Draco steps forward, placing his hand over Hermione's where it rests against the boy's shoulder. For a moment, all three are solid. Then the boy's arm flickers. Draco's fingers pass through the edge of him before settling again. He closes his eyes briefly. You knew from the beginning, Draco says. The boy nods. I suspected. And you still chose this? Yes. Hermione presses her forehead lightly to his. You're not allowed to be brave, she whispers. You're supposed to be selfish. He smiles faintly. I am. She pulls back, confused. I'm selfish for you. The manor hums softly. Not in alarm. In acceptance. Draco studies the boy carefully. When will it complete? Soon. He answers honestly. Hermione inhales sharply. No. Yes. Her tears fall freely now. Draco wraps an arm around her shoulders, not restraining, just steadying. She leans into him without thinking. The boy watches that carefully. That alignment. Not strategic. Not forced. Chosen. I didn't want you to hesitate, he says softly. In my time, you both waited too long. Hermione laughs through tears. That sounds like us. Draco almost smiles. It does. The boy's outline flickers again. Longer this time. His legs fade to transparency for a full second before returning. Hermione grips him tighter. Draco's voice lowers. You're not afraid. The boy looks at him. I was. And now? I know what happens. Hermione looks up. What? You live. Silence falls heavy. Draco swallows once. And us? The boy smiles faintly. You figure it out. Hermione presses her face against his shoulder. I'm not ready. I know. He gently pulls back from her embrace. This time her hands pass through him completely before catching again. It is happening. Draco steadies her as her knees weaken slightly. You did what we couldn't, Draco says quietly. The boy shrugs lightly. You would have eventually. Hermione shakes her head. Not like this. He steps back again. The flickering intensifies around his edges. The manor's wards pulse softly, as if recognizing a life that does not belong to this recalibrated version of it. I don't regret it, he says one last time. Hermione steps forward instinctively, and her hands close on air. He is still there, but faint. Draco holds her firmly now. Look at him, Draco says softly. She does. The boy stands straighter, calmer. You chose each other, he says. That was the point. His voice echoes slightly now, like sound travelling through water. Hermione's sob breaks free. Draco's jaw tightens painfully. The boy smiles, proud and peaceful. The fading does not happen all at once. It comes in waves. The manor grows impossibly quiet, as if every portrait, every stone, every ancient beam understands what is about to occur. The boy stands in the centre of the entrance hall. Hermione refuses to let go of his hand. Draco stands on his other side, steady but pale. His outline flickers, faint, then clearer, then faint again. Not yet, Hermione whispers, as if the timeline might negotiate. The boy looks at her gently. It's already happening. Draco's voice remains controlled, but it costs him. There must be something left to anchor you. The boy shakes his head slightly. I was anchored to a version of you that doesn't exist anymore. Hermione's breath stutters. You exist, she insists. You're here, for now. He squeezes her hand, or tries to. For a moment she feels pressure. Then it thins. I need to tell you something, he says softly. Hermione nods frantically. You don't wait anymore, he tells her. Not for fear. Not for politics. Not for other people's expectations. She swallows hard. I promise. He turns to Draco. You don't shut down when things get hard. Draco's jaw tightens. I don't. You don't try to carry everything alone. Draco nods once. I won't. The boy smiles faintly. Satisfied. His torso flickers now, transparent for a full breath before solidifying again. Hermione grips at his arm, and this time her fingers pass clean through before catching again at the elbow. She gasps. Please, she whispers. He steps back gently, freeing himself. I need you to see me, he says softly. Not try to hold me. Draco places a steadying hand on Hermione's back. She leans into him without realizing. The boy looks at them together. This is what he came for. Not strategy, not survival. Alignment. You're different already, he says quietly. Hermione nods through tears. Because of you, he smiles. Because of you. His legs dissolve first. Not violently. Softly. Like mist pulled upward by unseen currents. Hermione makes a broken sound. Draco tightens his grip around her shoulders. The boy remains from the waist up now, faint but visible. He looks at Hermione one last time. You were never meant to die like that, her voice breaks. You were never meant to disappear. He considers that. Maybe I was. Draco steps forward instinctively, but stops himself. The boy's arms begin to thin. The manor's wards hum once, low and final. He looks at them both. You chose each other without tragedy this time. Hermione nods desperately. Yes, that's enough. His voice echoes now. Faint. Transparent. His chest fades next. Only his shoulders and head remain. Hermione presses her hand over her mouth to stop the sound rising from her. Draco's eyes never leave the boy. I'm proud of you, the boy says softly. Draco's throat tightens painfully. I'm proud of you, the boy smiles. Then, his face flickers. For a heartbeat he is solid, clear, real. Then the light around him thins, and he dissolves completely. No burst, no explosion, just absence. Silence crashes down. Hermione stares at the empty space where he stood. Her knees buckle. Draco catches her instantly. She grips his robes like something tangible in a world that just lost shape. "He's gone," she whispers. "Yes," Draco says quietly. The lineage portrait at the end of the hall shifts subtly. The branch that once held his name fades from the carved wood. Not erased violently. Rewritten. Hermione lifts her head slowly. Tears streak her face. Draco brushes one away gently with his thumb. "He saved you," he says. She nods weakly. "He saved us." Draco's hand slides to her waist, holding her closer, not out of necessity now, out of choice. The manor settles fully. The timeline locks. Outside, the night remains unchanged. But inside, everything is different. The manor feels larger the next morning. Not emptier. Different. Hermione stands in the entrance hall long before sunrise, staring at the place where he disappeared. No scorch mark. No lingering shimmer of magic. Just polished marble and quiet air. Draco watches her from the staircase. He does not interrupt the silence. He joins her. Side by side. No strategy. No ritual circle. No audience. Just them. "He should be here," Hermione says softly. Draco doesn't argue. "Yes," her hands fold against her chest. "I can still feel him," Draco nods. "So can I." The wards hum faintly, not mournful, not restless. Settled. Hermione glances toward the lineage portrait. The branch that once flickered with his name is smooth now, rewritten as though it was never carved. It hurts more than it should. Draco studies the tree. "He altered the root," he says quietly. Hermione swallows. "He altered us." Silence stretches between them. Grief sits differently here. It is not grief for someone who lived and was lost. It is grief for someone who saved them and chose to vanish. Hermione turns toward Draco slowly. "We would have waited," she says. "Yes. We would have told ourselves we had time. Yes. And I would have died." Draco closes his eyes briefly. "Yes." The word is quiet. Brutal. Hermione steps closer. "He broke the pattern." Draco meets her gaze. "He changed the condition." She exhales slowly. "We can't let that be wasted." "No," he agrees. She studies him carefully. "You're not shutting down." "No." "You're not retreating." "No." He steps closer, gently brushing a strand of hair from her face. "I don't intend to lose you in any timeline." Her breath catches. This isn't urgency. This isn't tragedy. It's steady. She rests her forehead lightly against his. "This feels different," she whispers. "It is. In your memory of us. Were we always running from something?" "Yes." "And now?" "Now we're building before it breaks." The difference lands heavily. Hermione pulls back slightly. "We didn't choose each other because we almost lost everything." Draco nods. "We chose each other before." She considers that. It feels lighter and heavier. He reaches for her hand. She takes it without hesitation. No flicker, no fading, just warmth. The manor recognizes the contact, wards humming softly in acknowledgement, not dramatic, just steady. Hermione glances toward the staircase. "I keep expecting to hear him." "So do I." They stand there a moment longer. Then Hermione straightens. "There's work to do." Draco almost smiles. "There always is." She looks at him carefully. "Not just ministry work," he understands. "We take this slowly," he says. "Yes. No rushing because of fear. No. No waiting because of pride. No." They stand there, balanced, aligned, chosen. Outside, dawn breaks over the manor grounds. The future is not a fixed memory anymore. It is open, unwritten. Hermione squeezes his hand gently. Do you think... She hesitates. Yes? He prompts softly. Do you think he'll exist again? Draco considers that carefully. Not as he was. Her throat tightens. But something of him, he continues quietly. Something we don't recognize yet. Hermione nods slowly. Not as a guarantee, as hope. They turn together toward the study. Not because they have to, because they want to. The manor doors remain closed. The curse is gone. The rival house silenced. The tragedy prevented. And the boy who carried the weight of time has left behind something stronger than memory. Choice. Draco pauses at the threshold and looks at Hermione one last time before stepping forward. No more waiting, he says quietly. She meets his gaze. No more waiting. And this time, they mean it.